Hello, welcome to part 4 of behind the scenes of how I built the 10-gallon Dripwall terrarium. This is the last of 3 parts about creating the foundation of the terrarium. In this video we're going to finish the foundation and Hygrolon layer, finish the drip lines, and do a test of the entire system. Let's get into it. Here's a fun shot just showing the mess that I was making while I was working on this. It was a pretty extreme build. As you can see, I've got a lot of foam cans and a lot of mess and pieces of stuff everywhere, and plastic grid and hose, and so there's the tank. Now I got to a point where I wanted to actually start testing the water system a little bit, testing the drip hoses and all of that, and just kind of play around with it because I didn't want to finish all of the Hygrolon and anything until I knew that what I was doing was working. Here's the inside view, and there's the Hygrolon and the water and everything on the wood. Here the water is pretty deep, but I ended up actually making it only like an inch or so deep. Here is the test pump setup. It's just a bucket, and I just have the pump, and I'll show you a better picture of the pump later and some of the other plumbing, but this is just a temporary, just a bucket, and I was just testing the water. Let's go ahead and watch a video that actually shows this drip system working in this prototype kind of testing phase. Here's a couple more quick photos just showing some shots of the test. And you can see I have another hose coming down here on top of this top wood to ensure that I get that water running down that main piece of wood there. And a couple more shots here, the wood and the Hygrolon and everything. Then I needed to dry everything out so that I could finish off the Hygrolon background. So I went ahead and set the fan up here, cleared out all the water, and then I just set the fan on there and let that run for like a day or so until everything dried out again. Now we're getting closer to finishing off the drip system, and I decided to cut these hoses off at the end here that were on these barbs and just let it drip right out of the barb, and then I also cut a lot of the other ones much shorter, and I had played around with a piece of Hygrolon wrapping over from the top down and coming down past this point so that literally all of this stuff is completely hidden behind the Hygrolon and you never see where the water comes from whatsoever. This right here is some epoxy. You can see kind of this area that's all gooey right here. I used epoxy to lock this hose in place and to lock this plug down here, and I grabbed onto this barb with some epoxy, and here's another, and there's some epoxy right there, and then you can see that I just cut these right off after the barb, just left like a 1/4 inch there, and I kind of angled it so that I could get the water to drip where I wanted. You can also see that I put some foam right up here against this part right here so that would lock this plumbing system in, lock the hose and everything in, and make sure it's solid and doesn't move around. Now here's the other side. This is the right side of the tank, and you can see again epoxy right here that I used to lock all this stuff in place. And you can also see here, this is a piece of Hygrolon that I have wrapped from behind and above the drip line right here, and I actually have a piece of tape on. You can see back on this other photo I have a piece of tape right here. I also have a piece on this one just outside of the frame holding that up, but I put the Hygrolon over and behind first, and then I locked this in with epoxy so that it would lock the top piece of Hygrolon in there easier, and then I could just wrap it down and glue it on. Here's another close-up of a drip line coming down over there with some foam that I carved out, and here's a great picture actually of now those pieces of Hygrolon that we're going to wrap over and hide the drip system at the top, just taped up so that I could work under there and put glue and work on things and see all that. Now things are really starting to come together. I threw a rock in there, and then I'm adding all the Hygrolon on and cutting patches and pieces and fitting that in there. Also, I put some foam in those holes and then plugged them, with the foam, and then I put the Hygrolon patches on there because I didn't want those big open holes in there. So I just wanted to cover that, kind of hide it. And here's some more gluing. This is that ledge that I showed you earlier that I created, where I cut that piece of grid and I stuck it into the foam, and then I put foam over top of that and then created a ledge that goes from the wood to the side of the tank. Getting closer, got the top piece. This is the piece right here that wrapped up behind the drip tube, and then I locked it in with epoxy, and then I pulled it down and glued it over. And you can see I've got it here, and on this side too. I'm working on it. There's more gluing to be done though. And this is when it's all finished. This is the full hardscape, full background. All of the Hygrolon is glued in. Everything is wrapped around, and the drip system is completely hidden. All the hoses and everything are just behind the Hygrolon, and you can't see anything. All you see is the background and the hardscape. Here's a little video tour of that. And there's the level of the water that I chose to put it at, just at the level of the bulkhead, and let it just sort of drain out. It comes out the back here. So this is the return line. All the stuff down here that you're going to see is temporary. This is, I ended up not using these fittings. I ended up doing some other things, which I'll show you later. But this is just the test setup. And now the moment that you have been waiting for, which is the initial plug-in of the pump and the real test of the drip system after all the Hygrolon and everything is put in there. So this is it. This is the first test. There it is. So you can see the water coming down over the wood because I placed those specifically up on top there. And the water comes through the Hygrolon. You can see, like right there, it's coming through the Hygrolon, and you can't see where anything's coming from. It's just seeping down through, and it all just drips down and goes right in there. Again, the water level is not where it actually is going to be finally, but this was just an experiment. Here's just a quick video showing a clip of the top of the wood, and where I have two specific drip lines that I put on, one on this side and one on this side of the top of the wood, that would come up over the wood and make sure that I get kind of a waterfall on top of the wood there. And then I put the Hygrolon right down over the edge to hide the output of the hose. So this is a little clip showing that part.